Here we go. All right, so the topic this week is all about CTEF support. We'll talk a little bit about CTI supporting CTEF, but the main thing is from the foundation to us as installers. I just wanted to give a little bit of highlights from a couple of things that have changed since last week overall. Last week we talked about social media. I don't know if you guys might have seen Kathy McAllister's post asking for your headshots and your CTI number. When you send those to her, you can also include the rest of your information as well. Just it'll help her get the database updated and everything. But if you haven't sent her a headshot and your information, please do. Kathy McAllister, it's Kathy@tilecareer.com, or you can PM her on Facebook. So she's working on that. I did want to show you guys something real quick on the website. I'm going to share my screen. And let's see. Yeah, here we go. So on the CTEF website now, if you go to find a certified tile installer near you, now there is a note here above the map that says your state and local jurisdiction may also require tile installers to be state licensed. This was something that we heard several people had issues with, and it was kind of holding them back from participating in the program, because in areas where there is licensing, there are CTIs who aren't licensed, and there are CTIs who are licensed, and they didn't feel like it was fair if people thought that a certification might put them in the same thing. So we want people to know that there's a difference between licensing and there's legitimate work. So I recently found out that in South Carolina, there's a license requirement. They don't enforce it very strictly, but there is a requirement. I've lived here for 25 years, and I just learned that a few months ago. So it's one of those things where, you know, if you're set up legitimately, you've got a license where it's required, you can also use that to distinguish yourself. So I just wanted to show that something that we have adjusted. We're making several more adjustments to the website as well. I did just want to throw to Oliver real quick, because he and I were talking earlier this week about some stuff that he was doing with the CTI logo at your job sites and on your website. Would you mind talking to that?
Yeah, so one thing that we can do to network everybody together is if you add the CTI logo onto your website, through most editors, you should be able to make that logo a clickable button, which you can link to your choice. So I linked to the page for homeowners on the website and got that to work. So it kind of makes a bridge for Google in between your site and the other site. So it works if they're looking on our website, they can click on that and it takes them to that CTI. And anybody that does their own editing, or if you have someone that does it for you, should be able to do that. And not only is it cool that they can do that from your site, but behind the scenes, that works how Google does its trafficking to spider web those together. And the bigger that web gets, the more things get stuck on it as far as search engines. That's how that stuff works.
Yeah.
So the more of us that make that connection, the bigger it gets for Google to see.
Yeah, exactly. Hi, Aaron. Hey, Trask. Good seeing you guys. And can you talk a little bit about your hangers as well?
Yeah, so that's not a new idea, but we talked, I think all these meetings so far, we've talked about finding some way that we can put a token for the CTI. So I have these hangers that we hang from the shower head when we're finished that used to say little tile guy, but we added the logo, which doesn't look very good just because it's screen on screen. But so now it's gonna, the next round will have our logo, proudly built by, and then the CTI logo below it. And then on the back of these, we have like care instructions for taking care of the tile, and just a thank you note to the homeowner. Jim brought up a point that I'd never considered before, that if you're working in new construction, that might be something that the plumber tosses if he does the finish work.
Yeah.
That's a valid point that I had never, I don't think that we've had that happen, but that's a valid point that I never thought of.
Yeah. It might even be something that we can leave even directly with the homeowner or somewhere else in the house, but I think that's a great idea. having a little hanger that's got the CTI logo and it just gets people more aware of that. So thank you for that. So we're going to go ahead and keep moving on to the main agenda, which is, again, CTEF support. So there are a couple of programs that we actually have in the works right now when we're working on refining how it'll work and how we'll actually deploy it. But we did want to let you guys know that this is something that we're working on. One of them is if any of you guys, or if you know anybody who is working on specs that call for qualified labor, that specifically call out CTEF, CTIs, 5-star contractors, etc. We're setting up a system where you will be able to send that into CTEF, and CTEF will call the specifier. They'll call the architect or the GC or whoever specified that, communicate and express appreciation, and fight to make that spec stick. So if you've got a job that's coming up and you want a little bit of help nailing it, because we know that specs like to slip, you'll be able to do that. I know that doesn't necessarily apply a lot to the residential guys, but as we start kind of moving into other things that might get into something that might change.
Hey, Joseph, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, Jason.
Hey, so to go back to where you were discussing like licensing versus CTI, I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana, whatever. Funny enough, in Indiana, we have 0 grounds. Like, we don't have to flood test. We don't have to be licensed. I mean, licensing, as far as being a contractor, yes, but as far as like California, Arizona, Florida, those states that have a specific license for tile setting and things like that, that's what makes it important for states like Indiana to be CTI and to be involved within TCA, etc.
So Jason, hang on. Let me just stop you real quick, just because that's a little outside the purview of this meeting, which is about CTEF, but maybe we can get back to that a little bit later, and we might make that a topic of one of these meetings, talking about states and stuff like that. But please don't drop that.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So are any of you guys interested in that sort of program where CTEF would actually call specifiers, or how would that benefit you? Let me rephrase that. How would that benefit you if you get a spec and you can have an independent third-party company calling in to help make that spec stick?
Sounds like a commercial thing. What about residential?
Yeah, that's definitely a different element. Oliver, what do you want to add?
Just that we've run into it in residential. It's not a commercial thing. We had a job that was being the construction loan from the bank to the homeowners.
Out of control.
The time stamp on it had run long. Like, they had a certain amount of time to get the house done on their construction loan, and they had surpassed that date, and the bank took control of the contracting to try and get it back on track, because the homeowners were getting a little hard to deal with.
And the budget was out of control. Like, they were spending money like crazy.
But they wanted certified, licensed contractors, and there was no exceptions from the bank. They didn't care. No exceptions. So they actually didn't have a choice but to find someone that had some kind of a number that they could prove in order to be a contractor on that job. And that's why we got that job. It was a big one. So it does come up, especially when dealing with legal issues with banks and architects, and so it's worth it for residential too.
That's a great point, and that kind of goes back to something that we talked about last week, which is we might be able to even get in with insurance adjusters, to make sure that they're not throwing good money after bad to get certified, to get qualified labor on repair work. Anybody else have anything they wanted to add on that?
Yeah, the restoration companies, man, they come in and hack up stuff. So, like, in a residential sense, I can see, and commercial, I can see all that. But, yeah.
So, what if I like that the CTEF's adding that little warning sign about license, but what if we try to go after the actual state licensing board and said, how a plumber needs to have a certain amount of time under their belt to become a certified plumber and get their license?
So I'm gonna tell you the same thing I told Jason, that that's a little bit outside the purview of this meeting, which is CTEF support programs for CTIs. But I do think that that's a great, maybe I'll make next week's topic about how that can progress. Aaron, did you want to add something?
For those in new construction, everyone has drawings. I mean, you have to build a house with architectural drawings. So with that comes specifications. Sometimes that's on the first sheet. We don't just do residential. There are many ways to teach the architect and design community on where to specify, and we've had it done by a GC. Shocking, I know, but actually writing must be, and it was an ACT spec, must be an ACT through CTEF large format tile installer on the sheet, on the plan, because I'll tell you, a lot of GCs don't like to read the specs. They just look at the plan. So if it's called out on the actual architectural, on the drawings, just as a general note, I've seen that on residential, and that's something that could be implemented so it serves both parties. I mean, remodeling as well. It's if there's a set of drawings, it doesn't have to be written, copy and paste on these 300-page documents. It can be on the architectural sheets.
Yeah, that's a great point, Aaron. So this is a program that all of us can take advantage of. If we're in there early enough that we can see their specifications, we will be able to send that in and have it followed up on to help us sort of nail it from independent point of view. Hello, Scott. So did anybody?
I think you need to make it really clear on who to contact.
Yes, that would be Kathy McAllister to contact for that. She'll be the point of contact on that. And again,
hey, Matt,
her email.
I see you
Pardon?
Sorry, I see Matt raising his hands, but his microphone is off.
Oh, sorry, Matt. Oh, never mind.
Oh, my bad.
So, Craig, you want to say something about that?
His mic's off.
Yeah,
Your mic's off.
I got you.
One of the questions with specifications, I know that there are spec writing companies. What's the chance that we can get with some of these spec writing companies and get them pre-built boilerplate for this?
It's on there.
Okay, good enough. I realize.
Master spec. Scott can probably talk a little bit more about this, but it's in there.
Okay, cool. Like I said, I'm basically a occupied residential guy, so I don't see this. I just happen to know that a lot of times what happens is the boilerplate gets put in and no one checks it afterwards. And if we can get it in there, then we're gold. So not knowing, I was asking the question.
A lot of it's outdated, so that's a good reach, out to certain companies that you may work with or you see the specifications coming from. New construction. Hey, I'm from fill in the blank. I just want you to know this language was, Scott, I mean, it's been a while, but a lot of that copy paste is what you see often, but just to make them aware. Usually when you make them aware, it happens every time, at least
right.
from our perspective. Plus they'll contact you in the beginning if they need help. Like, you're the local professional, you make them aware, and they'll continue to do it. Sometimes it's just a point of they're busy. There's a million things for them to specify and draw, right? But just a quick phone call, email, here's the language that you can implement.
Do we have access through the CTEF to the language we want to have implemented in, like on a page, so that way we can just go ahead, copy, paste it, send it to the people we need to?
Scott, you want to answer that?
The language, Craig, already exists. As Aaron said, it used to be master spec, and I have not mastered the new title. It's Azuzu or something like that. But that language is already there. All they've got to do is copy and paste it. So what Aaron's alluding to, I think, and Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, if they bought their master spec,
Oh, Scott, you're breaking up a little bit.
being programmed.
Yeah, you're breaking up, Scott.
I'm hardwired.
Yeah, I think it's just a little bit of
breaking
lag.
up.
That's all. Go ahead, Scott. Keep
It's
going.
the language was written. Oh boy, I believe in 15 when we got it into master spec, and if they bought their master spec package a couple of years ago, many of them don't buy it every year when an update comes out. There is a brand new piece in the handbook on 2020 book that just came out. That language is updated in the handbook, but that doesn't change it in master spec. Master spec
Okay.
itself updates annually.
So
The
Scott,
problem is
So-
if they don't buy it, they don't have it. And that's, Aaron, is that what you're alluding to? That they've got old spec material?
Old spec language, or perhaps they only pick and choose what they want. So a lot of times it's a copy paste, right? And it sometimes comes in form of a request for information with, terrible specs. But just us sending them that language under quality assurance, just in a Word document, right? That's something that they can implement. In case they want to know what the methods and standards are, you just become a resource. It becomes very organic, right? It just, hey, we're here to help if you get confused. If you want a good tile installation, I'm someone local that can help you, and you can specify a professional on your project. And I have it, in terms of just the copy paste. I used to have a link on my signature line where the architects could click it or the GC could click it, and boom, there it is, copy paste.
so before we move on to Trash, did you have something you wanted to say, or were you just moving your hand?
No, I just concur. It's right along the lines that it seems like make it as easy as possible. Most of the specifiers I've been in touch with on projects, they want it spoon-fed. They want it made easy.
Online.
They're often unaware, like you said, of anything current. I mean, you have to go to them.
Yeah, Scott.
Like you,
Oh, sorry, Trash.
no, that's good. It's just I'm
Okay.
concurring.
Scott, in the language that you're saying is going to be added to the 2020 handbook, will that be something that, for example, CTEF or even individual CTIs could send on to people, if we know who's writing specs, that they could include in their quality assurance language? I think that's what Craig was getting to.
Yes, but that's not verbatim in what's now in the new.
Yes, but no.
Master spec. We've updated the language in the handbook, and there's another paragraph a little bit differently worded. I just got my handbook. They're just slow in getting out to everyone, but that language has been updated. But to answer your question, sure, we could do that. We could. I'll have Kathy. I'll tell you what. If anybody that wants it, that's on this call, or share it with someone else, that's fine. Just email Kathy or tag her on Facebook, and she'll send you that information out. And at least that'll be something we have that you could just flip to them, as Aaron said. Just if you have it in a file, and you can just flip it to them, or just there's no link to it because you can't link the handbook. I'll have Kathy send you. Just let us know who wants it, and I'll have Kathy send it out to you Monday.
Is
Thank you very much.
that something you'd be sharing with clients you gave an estimate on and they've hired you already, or it's just like a potential job you're trying to share that info with?
I think it's one of those things, Paige, that we can use it in a variety of ways. It's just language in the handbook that we can use as a tool. So if you're going to send it out, you can include it in an estimate, even to a homeowner, and say, here's what the tile standards and methods governing body has to say about this. This is what they look for in quality assurance, et cetera. And then if we know the people who are drawing the specs, like GCs or architects, and then that's something that they'd be able to adapt to, I think. If I'm wrong, somebody raised their hand to correct me. All right, no hands. That's good. That's always a good sign. So,
I mean, prospecting, it's bridging that gap to the clients you want to reach out to and let them know. I mean,
Yeah.
we use it for, once they use it, they usually always use it, but it's a great tool for prospecting and introducing yourself as the professional in your area.
and so just so that this is clear for everybody, like there are aspects that CTEF, there are things that CTEF does that helps us as installers. There's things that help us as contractors. This program is specifically helping us on the business side. This will help us reach out and, like Aaron said, get those clients that we want and help nail those specs so that they're no longer able to just take the lowest bid. They'll take the lowest qualified bid. And that's where we're getting. So this is a business support program that CTEF will be initiating. Scott?
I just had a very interesting call this week. I can't release who it is yet, but it doesn't really matter. But the story is still the same. They bid the job and they did their due diligence with the qualified labor language out of follow-up to master spec. And they got the job being $300,000 high. Now, it was a huge project. Don't get me wrong.
Wow.
But it works because
that's the power.
They dogged it. And the owner called this person directly and said, you're $300,000 high, but the other guy is not qualified. We want you to do the work. Now, there was a lot of things done in the background. One of them was pursuing what we're talking about here. And the other thing was reputation. But that speaks volumes to be that far high and get the job. But when you think about it, it's huge when you think about it. If it fails, and if the guy's not qualified, and unfortunately we see way too many failures, what's it going to cost to fix it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a material breach, attorneys like to say. That it's a specification that was breached. You did not follow.
Yep. So again, this is I would say that this will be another tool in our toolbox.
And it's right.
Aaron, what is is that the 2020 that you've got?
It's not, but it shows in the handbook, even dropping off a handbook. Call a local partner of yours. I see Ashley in here. We know he's a big Schluter boy, right? Hey, ask him for some handbooks, highlight this, drop them off and introduce yourself, right?
And that's under
It's just
specifications
sample language.
and
That's a really great way to bridge a gap and get in there.
Yeah.
I don't know that they're on the street yet.
Matt, did you have anything you wanted to add?
For 2019.
Hey, Aaron, what page number are you on? What yearbook are you looking in and what page number, just to make life easy?
This one's old. It's a 2018, but if you look on page 51, 52, and 53, it's Installer and Contractor Qualifications Guide. And it tells in the beginning what it is and why it's important. And then where you see this green, right? Sample language. Sample language. So that's what they can use and take in and take out what they want, right? I mean, sometimes they put all of it, but at the end, there's like ACTs in certain areas, but what's highlighted in that third paragraph is specifically installer employees, certified tile installers. And the foreword to that, before that little yellow, right, the sample language is what it is and why it's important.
Oliver, did you have something you wanted to add?
Nope. Same page number in the 2019, 52.
Very cool.
51, 52.
So yeah, this is a big thing. And again, it's a business tool that we'll have available and will be something really powerful if we take advantage of it. So be on the lookout for more information about that. And then, Scott, do you want to add one more thing?
Joseph, the fun part of that, Aaron, she'll probably smile as soon as I say this. If you read through that statement, if you've never looked at it, take a peek if you would. But CTEF is the first listing. Through the beauty of the alphabet, CTF is the first one listed. So it's sweet. When you say, thank you, Aaron, get a little closer. Yeah, that's it right there.
Numero uno.
We're the first one. So when you say you're represented through CTF as a CTI, we're the first one in there, and it actually speaks to a CTI program. So it's sweet that we're not buried. Some of my colleagues in some of those other organizations that are included have always chastised me for, why do you get to be first? I said, it's not me. It's just the letter of the alphabet. I
invented the test, bro.
That's not the issue.
Yeah. So, anyways, did anybody have any questions regarding that program? And like I said, as it develops more, we'll be, talking more about it. But as it stands right now, does anybody have any questions about how it'll work, how you can take advantage of it, etc.? I don't see any hands. So we'll move on then. So the next thing I want to do, this gets a little bit more into brainstorming and ideas. The first thing I wanted to ask you guys is, what avenues of support from CTEF have you actually been able to take advantage of in the past? Whether that's calling Scott or Kathy or any of the resources from CTEF. Have any of you guys been able to take advantage of anything like that? Craig?
So I've had a lot of chances to take advantage and pick Scott's brains over the last few years. The fact that I can call and ask arcane questions, and if he doesn't know, he can find out, and he does get back with me. That has been a huge help to what I'm trying to do. I can't say enough about it. As you know, one of the things that was talked about earlier was, and I think Aaron mentioned it, as we become the local experts, people reach out to us for questions, even across trades. And so as we get asked questions, if we don't know where to find it, send an email, send a note, send a text, make a phone call to get the right information and get it back to the people who are asking it, get the answer back to them quickly. That will help in that whole reputation thing. Because as we become the local experts or even the state experts, one, it helps us with our cause of qualified labor, but it also helps us network for our individual companies. And that's where the CTEF and to another extent the NTCA as well, but that's where this access to the specialized information is just invaluable.
Yeah.
And so thank you, Scott.
Joe.
So I did reach out, and I think it was about 6 months ago. I reached out to Scott and Mark regards to a particular manufacturer that does improve gauge porcelain panels on a floor.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a 4 foot by 8 foot, 6 millimeter. And I don't know if you remember that, Scott. The manufacturer denied our request to install on the floor. We just go through the process. So I reached out, I provided all the language for the GPTP. I don't know where the handbook is. And I provided all that language. And obviously this manufacturer didn't have anything. So I sent it over, and then, we talked a little bit more in detail. But point being is that we did our research to this particular homeowner and as well as this contractor being the qualified installer. That at the end of the day, they went with us being $3,000 more on this residential project, being $3,000 more because we had that qualifications. And as well, we circumvented all the approvals between the manufacturer, the setting manufacturer, and then how we're going to proceed with the process.
So Joe, let me ask you a question about that. Were you saying like, if this, I also got this information from a third party source, and then you presented that backing up your proposal, or were you just using that to bolster your proposal in the way that you presented it?
Well, you do your sales process, why they should choose you, what qualifications you have. Some of you guys have seen my video that I do my presentation. So aside from that marketing ploy, we present what our qualifications are, what are our training, and that's where we introduce them again, the CTI, the CTF, the organization.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of people who say they do this, but they're not qualified to do it. So that gives us that extra advantage. and we actually took a contract from a union outfit because we are the cheaper qualified.
That's a flex. That's a flex.
It was a huge contract, so we're just finalizing that, and we're going to get a deposit. It's huge because we always go with the manufacturer, the setting manufacturer. We send in pictures, and then we provide all that warranty. And then on the bottom of our bid, or in the beginning, we provide our qualifications and exactly what are those requirements are for.
Gotcha.
The union did not have that particular qualifications for the gauge porcelain panels. So that's how we were able to land this large contract. It's beneficial to be a member here.
Very good.
Let me ask a question quickly, if I may. Joe, is that out of Philadelphia? No. Here in North Jersey. Yeah, but where was that?
Doesn't the union do ACT on
This
panels?
the union? No, this one was based out of here in North Jersey as well. The locals out of North Jersey? Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Wow. I looked them up, and they're not listed certified.
So my next question was just kind of going along that line is that's a advantage that we have with CTEF, that how CTEF supports us, that's available and that a few of us have taken advantage of. The next question is, what sort of support programs from CTEF for CTIs would you like to see? Ashley.
How's the volume?
Pretty good.
Volume, okay. Okay, so, I want to get back to talking about, scouting out people, getting back to letting people know, architects, specifiers, that kind of thing.
Okay.
One thing I'm thinking of, that I was thinking about while we were talking is, how can we get resources to CTIs who don't have the resources knowing how to do these things? Like I can always talk to Aaron online and find out, get suggestions about how to meet architects and all that. I can talk one-on-one with people, but we don't have a portal where we can actually send somebody and say, hey, if you're a new CTI and you need to get involved with the people writing these specifications, this is the way to get mentor program. Exactly, something like that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a mentor program. And I don't know how feasible it is, but maybe have a CTI portal on the CTEF website we can go to where we can find like a video, say somebody does a video of this is the way you approach these people. This is the package that we use. This is how we do it. Kind of a kickstart instead of having to one-on-one every time somebody needs to do this. We actually have a portal we can go to and learn how to do it. And I'm not sure how feasible that is to have a CTEF, CTI portal that we could log into and do that. Just resources for CTIs.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Like I said, this is a brainstorming part of this. So it's, don't be afraid to toss an idea out there. Craig, did you want to add something?
No, because it's a brainstorming thing, and that wasn't a comment that would help. I was curious whether that was within our purview, but if we're brainstorming to find new ideas, we need to brainstorm and find new ideas, throw them out there without questioning at this time. So no, I don't.
Yeah, the nice thing about this is we might end up with ideas that aren't feasible. However, they might lead us to new paths to ideas that are feasible and that will make things. So again, don't be afraid to toss ideas out here if you have one. Jason?
I don't know how on subject this is, but I was one of the first people to get sponsored with CTI testing. And what if on the site there was, there's a lot of people that don't want to reach out for sponsorships because of pride. Some people can't afford it. Some people, it's hard to say, but some people may not want to sponsor them. But there could be an outlet on the site that could possibly express people that are willing to possibly sponsor others, or someone that could be a mentor towards the test. I mean, I could be off subject, but I don't know. I could see where people could go to the site and say, is there anyone looking to sponsor so-and-so? But then I guess now that I say it out loud, I could hear myself looking at myself saying, well, I don't just want to throw myself out there and be a sponsor to just anybody. So I don't know if there's a way there would be some, or actually the people that want to take CTI could post up, possibly looking for a sponsorship or something like that. But I know it's become kind of a big thing. The sponsorship thing is really taken off, and it seems like more people are being sponsored now than are actually paying for the test themselves. I was fortunate to get sponsored 2 times. So, I mean, that was very lucky and very happy for that. But it's just an idea. But
yeah, I got it down on the ideas list. So thank you, Jace. Appreciate that. Matt, did you have something you wanted to add? No? Okay.
No, sorry.
All right. Does anybody else have some sort of idea for things they would like to see coming from Trask?
Yeah, well, you're talking about how to keep CTIs engaged, I think, in one respect. And Aaron and I were just talking about this a little bit ago. CTI to ACT is a huge leap. And, I would liken it to a client. I mean, they're already qualified. When I get a repeat client, it's easy peasy. They're done. They know what we're about. They've spent the money. We know their money's good. We have a relationship. I don't let them go. I treat those guys like gold and continue to pursue them and keep them engaged. I feel like you become a CTI, and now what? It's incumbent on you to take the next huge step. There needs to be continuing training, some mechanism to keep them engaged and moving forward, I think. And I don't know what that mechanism is, but I think we can come up with something.
Gotcha.
Agree.
Aaron, did you have something? You have an idea on that? You're muted.
There's constant ANSI and TCNA updates, right? Like things are always changing. I think part of that portal that Ashley, I believe, said would be a great idea is how, to Trask's point, if we're going to have an accreditation and certification, there needs to be continuing education with these new methods and standards, and to have something easy that is direct, like, okay, I didn't check my inbox of 20,000 today on what was blasted out, but I know I can go to that one place, and when new methods and standards or some sort of ANSI or TCNA language has been passed, or any type of news, that is content that we can share with our local communities, right? That would be a great idea for a portal, not just how can I use this for my business once I get this accreditation, but how am I going to stay ahead of everyone else in my local area of knowing what's happening, what's coming up, what are you going to hear about, what, being that content expert in your profession, I think is also really needed. Some easy resource, like a login. Actually, it's public information, right? I mean, we don't need to have a login for CTIs. It should be posted on that page. We should get more traffic through it. It should be blasted on everybody's social media outlet, right? Content, share. I don't know what that looks like, but I know it's desperately needed.
Gotcha. That's
idea of the day right there.
Joe, you have something you wanted to add, and then we'll go to Craig after that.
I gotta agree. That's huge. Back in my corporate days, when as a large organization that's multinational, it's really hard to gather all the information. So what they essentially created was almost like a SharePoint file. So with the abundance amount of information, it's hard to keep up with everything. So if you create that portal, just like what Aaron said, all right, so this is the new one that's on Trek. This is what's going to change for 2021. These are the changes. These are the current changes. This is what's being what's going to change in the future, and so on and so on. I mean, you can use that SharePoint on multiple fronts.
Excellent point. Craig, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I have a possible topic that we can build more training with.
Okay.
And that is in 2012, the ANSI group revamped its mortar specifications. It's A118 specifications for mortar, bringing in things like large and heavy format, extended open time, rapid set, redefining all these things with an add-on, what am I saying, at the end,
Right.
designator. Most installers have no idea of these changes and how they affect us and how we can make use of these new designators to choose the right mortar for the situation that we have. I had a couple long talks with a couple manufacturers, technical managers in the last couple weeks, and both of them said, hey, you know what? We have a lot of this information already out to you guys, but nobody knows what it is. And they're specifically talking about, you know, we have this new designated mortar, the A1, what is the 15?
Yep.
We talked about, you know, the extended open time one, the non-sag designators. And I think making maybe it's just a simple video, maybe involving some of the manufacturers, having them explain why certain mortars are appropriate to the situation at hand will help installers choose the right product for best performance and value, based on just reading the specs on the bags
And understanding what
and understanding what they're reading.
Gotcha. That's an excellent point. Thank you. Trash, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, it's just
Okay.
waving at somebody at the window.
Scott, I think I
guys.
saw your hand too. Oh yeah, Jason?
Hey, just real quick, I got to cut out. I
Okay.
appreciate jumping in and keep me updated on the next meetings. I'm totally into it.
Yeah,
And,
please
I
send
just
me
wanna
your email
say-
address.
Yeah, for sure. And what's up, Chris, Upton, all you guys? Good to see you. I got to drive back up to Indy. We're down south at a state park right now. I just want to chime in and get my first feel of the Zoom meeting. So
Awesome.
I appreciate it, and I look forward to being more involved. So
Thank you so much, Jason.
Jason, before you go, if you have any further help or update on sponsors, I know we've worked that out with you, and we're doing that now with sponsors that call us and say, I want to sponsor this person. If this thing grows to another one, I've had people actually say, here's $1,000. You pick who you want. There are other people that say specifically, I want to sponsor Jason. So we've done that, but if we can expand that, we're wide open. So please don't hesitate to shoot something to me or Kathy, please, and we'll put that into play.
Yeah. Yeah, I have some ideas for that for sure. It's just things I think about, you know, and in that regard, being one of the beneficiaries, it's easier for me to express ideas because I've been in those shoes, unexpectedly, but it happened. And I think there's a big thing there, you know, and moving forward, we can discuss that, Scott. And, you know, me and you get on the phone, and I'm on a job site usually, and it's kind of hard to get away from. I like to talk to you. It's kind of hard to get back to my job site, but, you know, I enjoy talking to you. But we can shoot the stuff about that one day, and I'll take some notes down and some ideas, and I'll give you a call.
Thank you so much, Jason.
And then
Appreciate you making the meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll obviously talk to you guys over social media and everything else, and keep me posted on the next meeting, and I'll get you my address, Joseph. And thanks.
Thanks so much. Take care. Wayne, did you have something you wanted to add?
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a link on the site, Friends of the CTI, or CTEF, we donate to every year. How about it? Is there a link for people who want to sponsor guys that want to take the test?
No, that is a very good idea. That can be, perhaps that can be something that can be rolled into that. I see a lot of approval for that in the meeting. That's a great idea, Wayne. So,
Just real quick.
Yep. Yeah, Jim, go ahead.
If we put our email address in the chat, will you get a copy of that, or is that?
Yeah.
Or would you rather go somewhere else?
No, that's great, and I'll just I'll add that to that just anything I can copy and paste makes it easy. That way I don't mistype anybody's email address.
All right.
That way the next ones can be up on Google Calendar. So
Let me give you an example real quick. what happens when you help people.
Go ahead,
It's
Aaron.
6:48 on a Saturday, and there's an architect texting me for help. They work as hard as we do, honestly. When you're a resource, they don't want to know about the new mortars. Their heads are going to explode. They're going to call you and ask for help. I want to let you know, it's not just that language, it's that relationship. And whatever we can do, Scott, to make this grassroots where we can add more value to help these CTIs, I'm all in, because I know it works. I know it works. How can we help them? You know, I think we will grow tremendously when we start putting some of these processes in place, and you just have loads of volunteers on board with something brilliant you created. And man, I know it's just you and Kathy, but you got a lot of people that want to help you guys out. We just got to figure out how to manage that, how to structure that.
Yeah, what's nice is a lot of these ideas are things that are kind of already in line with the CTEF mission, some things that we're already doing, and they would be easy to adapt, and other ones are new things that also support that. So let's see. Joe, go ahead.
I know this is a little off topic, but on the website, you got get certified and why certification as a drop down.
Yep.
And why certification is really catered to the consumer.
Yeah.
Instead of putting why certification,
architects and
put
designers
for consumers.
That's an excellent point. Redesigning, relabeling these things for consumers, architects, stuff like that. That's a great idea.
Specifically architects.
Contractors.
Or architects, yeah, too.
Like specific names, like so that they know that's where they're supposed to click if they've come on the site.
That is an excellent point.
And that's how you can SEO, get those keywords back on.
That's a great point. Wayne, did you have something you wanted to add?
Is there a number or percentage of CTIs who does commercial, who does residential?
I'm sure there is, but we don't really have that data. I certainly don't have it right here in front of me.
I have some data for you.
Architects is probably the number one choice, because like if we do high-end residential, that would be awesome for us. I'm sure most commercial jobs use architects.
Yeah, for sure.
So that would like be the prime objective, no?
Yeah, exactly. You know, this like we said earlier, these are tools that we'll be able to leverage, like you said, to get to more of those people. So let's see. Anybody else? Scott?
Who had thought about the drop-down box? And that was great. Who was that?
Joe.
That was Joe.
Joe?
Macalusco?
Do me a favor and shoot me a list. We are in a process. I think you're going to be really happy with where we've gone. I have a prototype already built, and once we tweak it a bit, we're going to launch it. But it's now going to be much more user-friendly on your phone, because now it is you've got to scroll to get it, and this is going to be able to pretty much put it a lot more succinctly on your phone too. Everything's up in the top in a menu, but if you give me what your thought is, please do so, and we can incorporate those drop downs.
Okay.
Because we do have some things that are a little bit fuzzy. We have a really good homeowner section. We're working on a specifier section, so that would be perfect for that thing that you just mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
That's a great point. So, alrighty. Let's see. Does anybody else have any other ideas that would speak to maintaining engagement with CTIs after the test? Oh, Wayne, there you go. Aaron's got some data for you. NTCA members, 50% are six or less employees. I'm assuming the other 50% are more. So,
one thing I would think about, and there's some bigger questions here too, but taking and engaging 5-star status. Again, a CTI, a lot of them aren't going to go there, but there's a fair amount that will. And how, changing the language and changing the paradigm, you've already qualified if you're a CTI. They're already ripe to pursue and they're hungry. but change the paradigm a little bit. I mean, for us, I would speak, it wasn't as compelling to me, you know, to say, oh, it's going to lead to this, it's going to lead to that. Speak to more of what it does to you with respect to either the CTI or the 5-star or both, what it does to your organization internally. Don't do it for the, you know, amount of business you may receive or the expertise it happens internally and organically to you. You know, we've gone through the whole 5-star process now and are waiting on CTI qualification for it. What it has done is metamorphosized our company dramatically, and that is hard to fake. You know, clients feel that, they taste it, they sense it, but it has radically changed our organization. What it compelled us to do radically changed our organization. That's the most compelling reason for me to pursue that. And I think there should be some language or some testimonials to that effect.
I love that. I got that down. So the last thing that I would like to do, since we've got a pretty good group here, this is just a rough informal poll, so just raise your hand digitally or otherwise. If CTEF had a program to teach and enable CTIs to present CEUs to architects or designers, who would be interested in pursuing that avenue? I think that's almost about as unanimous as it can get.
What's this? What would the CEU cover?
That's TBD, but just enabling, teaching CTIs how to do it, and producing a CEU for them to present, to go and
Methods and standards, Schluter
Methods
girl.
and standards.
Trial and error.
Craig, you want to say something real quick?
Maybe what would be the best is teaching us how to speak publicly and present. We can if we know how to teach a group and we feel comfortable doing that, we can have several different curricula available to teach. I've just recently become accredited to teach union plumbers in Nebraska shower systems. So it can be done. There's all sorts of different things that we can teach once we are comfortable presenting.
Yeah,
and maybe
it's definitely
that would
a skill to be learned.
Yeah, maybe that would be the first thing that we should look at training, is how to present yourself and how to present something well.
Yeah, that's a great point. So it's really encouraging to see everybody's interest in that sort of program. I know Joe proposed that a couple of weeks ago, and I think the first meeting actually, and I think that might be something that we can pursue. So, all right. Did anybody else have anything else they wanted to add as far as this goes? No? All righty. Well, I know I wrote, does anybody remember? I said I might make next week's meeting. Oh yeah. Next week's topic, I'd like to talk about state requirements, licensing, potential for licensing, where that might go in the future, what we may or may not know, and how we can leverage that to our advantage. So I'll put that out there. I'll make another post, and like I said, I'll email everybody with a calendar invite as well for that. If anybody else has anything to add, now's the time. All right. Oh, Aaron, want to add something?
I'm excited to see so many people getting involved. I think we were talking earlier, like, I'm busy, so if my phone dings on a calendar invite, I'm like, oh God, I gotta log in, right? So I think that's something next week we'll try to get some more folks in here, but it's just it's really exciting to see so many of you involved, and my email address is down there. If y'all ever need anything from me during the week just to help your business, feel free to reach out.
Absolutely. We're a good resource for each other. So, all right, guys. Well, thank everybody very, very much for participating, and I will see you next week.